Hey, IG, it's your girl, Y Renee. It's 7 o'clock on the dot. Thank you all for coming to join me. Gonna wait for some, I'm not gonna wait for people to come on. If you're joining me live, I appreciate you. If you're joining me via the replay, I appreciate you even more. Why? Because you took time out of your schedule to watch a video, a reel, however it came up, IGTV, and you decided to sit and listen to what I had to say. So I'm really excited. I'm Y Renee, your trauma recovery coach, and I'm here to talk about all things divorce. So it's been a nice couple days. We've been talking so far. I've been having conversations, and you all have been listening to some things that started and how this conversation got started and why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I picked divorce. So I'll give you a little recap for those people who have not watched. But if not, please go back and watch the other two videos. I think they were very good and they had very good details and content in it. So here we go. Why did I pick divorce for the month of August? I was having a conversation with a couple of young ladies pertaining to, no longer being married and how they affect us and how the title of divorce affects us generally negatively, or how we sometimes feel that divorce itself, thank you for the loves, thank you for joining me. So how we feel that it gives us a negative connotation. It takes us to a place. How long do we actually say we're divorced before we move back into a single category? Some people do it right away. Some people hold on to the title. Why? Because you are actually divorced. However, when you tell people you're divorced, it kind of puts that cloud over your head. So I'm trying to help people get past that and have a real conversation about all things divorce. Okay. So this month, as I'm talking about things divorce, I will be having guests on towards the middle of the month, and I'll have a guest on actually Thursday this week. But if anybody else is interested in being live on with me, please feel free, DM me. I'll see what dates I have available. I would love to have a conversation. It's all about perspective, and it's all about people having a conversation to have a better understanding. Some of these conversations, I believe, will help people not feel so negative about the term of divorce. Everybody has a different reason for divorcing. Some reasons to some people may be selfish. Some reasons for myself, it was to save my life. Other people can just have various reasons. And it's always good to have conversations to have better understanding. As the Bible says, in all thy ways get an understanding. You have to be aware. And with understanding becomes wisdom. With understanding, you actually can help that next person who possibly is going through the same thing that you're going through. So again, for those who are just tuning in, thank you so much for joining me. This is Y Renee. I'm a trauma recovery coach, and we're talking all things divorce. So this is going to be just a candid conversation. I usually don't stay on longer than 20 minutes. Depends on if I get any interaction. Again, if anybody wants to join me live, feel free, send me a request. I'll let you on live with me. And we could just have a conversation about it. Again, I only do this because being a coaches are actually helping people get out of a place called stuck and help them get stuff organized in their mind so they can move forward and not be where they are. But for me, because my niche is trauma, people have different traumas throughout their lives. COVID-19 caused a lot of trauma. I've survived domestic violence, I've survived suicide attempts, and I've also survived being gunned down. Those are traumatic incidences. Grief causes trauma. So I picked divorce, like I said, for this first month because, one, I want to be more visible. Two, I want to help people help themselves. And three, it was just a conversation that I felt it came up at the right time, and I think it's a good conversation to have. Even if you're not somebody who's divorced, let's say you're married and you feel like this doesn't pertain to you, maybe we can give you some tips, or maybe people I talk to can help you through, like maybe you're having a little hiccup right now. Maybe you feel like your divorce is not an option, but maybe you're strained in some areas. So some people can tell you how it affected their marriage, and maybe you could take some tips and some tools or some nuggets and apply it to your own marriage so you can know that, first of all, communication is key. That's big for real. So like if you're not communicating with your spouse, that's an immediate trigger that can cause the downfall. And of course, I'm not on here to promote divorce. I'm actually on here to promote marriages. I believe that marriages is an awesome, amazing institution that is governed by God, or ordained by God, rather, governed to. But I just believe that sometimes people go into these things not knowing fully what they're getting into, rushing the process, and once they get in, all the excitement that they had when the honeymoon is over with, they don't have the fight, the tenacity to stay in, because marriage is work. It's worse than a 9 to 5, I'll tell people, because you at your job for only maybe 8 hours. Some of us nowadays may work 16, 20 hours because of everything that's going on. But let's just say you work 8 hours out the day and after that you're home. You spend more than 8 hours with your spouse, and sitting around being quiet and not having conversation is not good if you're just existing together. You want to live together, not just exist. So with that being said, I'm off my soapbox, 5 minutes in. Thank you all for being here. So once people start talking about that they don't want to do this anymore, I just really think, like I was just saying, that you have to put in work. You have to want to, I would say this: if you got married, I believe that you got married for a reason. I don't think nobody goes into the actual institution of marriage saying, I want to get a divorce. However, if you put divorce in the forefront of your mind before you say I do, if it's a conversation you all have, like when we get married, if we divorce, this, that, and the other, you've already spoke negatively into the union. So before anything, I'll tell anybody who's even contemplating getting married, take divorce off the table, period. Because you're just setting yourself up for failure. I understand sometimes, people who are in professionals where they make a lot of money, they feel like they need prenups and all the other stuff. And I'm just somebody who firmly believes that, again, if it's meant for you all to be together, that no matter what, you'll work through it. Different circumstances happen. Again, I was someone who was abused, so it's not healthy for me to be in my marriage. And a lot of things about divorce and marriage trigger me to this day. But I'm at a space where I've gotten professional help, where I feel like I can help others. So it's all about having a conversation. So when you start talking about marriage, you need to have clear concerns about the relationship. If you see any red flags, if you see anything, it needs to be, you need to have a conversation about it to see if it's something that you all can squash before you even say I do. But even throughout the marriage, to avoid divorce or even those things that are going to happen, you have to have conversations. You have to be open. Most times, I will say, the statistics that I gave about over 50% of marriages in the United States in divorce, I think it's because people are not having conversations. I think that people get into some of these marriages and they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And when you stop communicating, you stop having those hard conversations. If you let stuff, if you let stuff like go under, cover it with a bridge or whatever the saying is, you're just doing something more to add damage. Because when you cover stuff and you don't have conversation about it, you're putting layers on top of it. And that's how explosions happen. That's how huge arguments happen. That's why stuff gets blown out of proportion, because if you deal with it and assess it right when it happens, regardless of how the other person feels, we should be adult enough, because if you get into marriage, it should be adult enough to understand we're not going to agree about everything. However, my feelings matter just like your feelings matter. So communication and talking is very, very, it's key. It's really what keeps the fabric of the marriage together. But let's say that doesn't work and you all don't communicate anymore. And you've looked at every aspect and you've shared your expectations of your roles, because that's another thing too. We misconceptions. Some people get divorced for financial reasons. Some people handle books better than the other. So would you allow your spouse to take over the financial reins if you know it's not your strong point and it's something they can do? Or are you just that controlling and that manipulative that you have to know everything and everything has to be the way you want it, even though it may be your downfall? So you need to know your clear roles. And I mean, it's not being sexist. It's not being like, sometimes their man may cook better than a woman. So if he's going to be a cooker, maybe you should be the cleaner. And maybe if she cooks better than you, maybe you should clean or assist in cleaning and things like that. Everything is not, especially in today's society, it's usually taking two incomes to take care of a household. So that old verbiage of a woman stays home to take care of the house so the man come home, that's not happening anymore, because most of us are out in the field with you, working just like you are, working as many hours. Sometimes the job is just as stressful as your job, etc., etc. I can't wait till I get these men on to have this conversation this month. I'm so excited. So sorry, sidebar. So would you have a conversation or ways to salvage the marriage? If there is no way and you finally decide that we need to split, are you adult enough to have a conversation to be able to split amicably? Would you be able to take everything into consideration? If you have children or not, if you have property or not, is this something that you're going to draw out long because somebody's feelings are hurt or somebody wants to be vindictive? The worst thing, one of the things that triggered me the most was we had absolutely nothing, me and my ex, absolutely nothing. Vehicles. I had my vehicle. He had 2 or 3 of his own. I can't remember right now. It's either 2 or 3. I know it's more than one. And he had, because he was angry because I wouldn't come back home, because he was disappointed, not controlling and manipulative in our divorce, he wanted to fight me so I would not have any transportation. I was giving them the house and didn't want any parts of it. He didn't want me to have any items that belonged to me out of the house. When I say literally tried to fight me tooth and nail for everything was a fight. And it became so depressing. I felt so defeated sometimes because, like I said, where we could have been done within probably 90 days, it drawed out for a year, 2 months, and 9 days. A year, 2 months, and 9 days. That was unnecessary because we had to have attorneys because, dealing with domestic violence and when you have restraining orders is totally different. And those things trigger me sometimes when I'm better now when I talk about it for the most part. Thank you all for joining me too. Welcome. I could talk about it, but when I tell you when it first happened, triggered. Every time I went by a courthouse, I would have heart palpitations. I would sweat, even though I might not even be going to the courthouse. It bothered me so much because I spent so much wasted time in a courthouse for no reason. And a lot of times if anybody's been to court for whatever reason, it's a docket. You got a case number. It's people in the room with you. So you could be sitting up there and they can call you 15, they call 15 cases before they get to yours. And once you get in there, if you have not settled anything, if you have not come to a happy medium or some type of agreement, you will you're there waiting for your case to be called 30 minutes. They'll call your case. You ain't come to no type of agreement. Y'all can't do nothing. Within 5 minutes to be like, okay, well, ain't nothing we can do continuous for 30 days. Craziest crap ever. So I've wasted travel time to get to the courthouse, the time in the courthouse, and then travel time back home. Fulfilling Purpose 84 says, I'm still in it, and sometimes I can't talk about it. Woo, Jesus. Girl, let me tell you, if you need somebody to talk to, since trauma recovery is my niche, please feel free to DM me. I've been there, so I can help you. At least if you want to talk about it with somebody who has been there and would understand, I'd love to connect with you and talk with you about it. So please feel free to DM me. My God baby's on. Hey, sweetie. So, thank you. And I feel like there's just so many things. Like I said, that part triggered me, but when you need to be able to be adult about it and be able to do stuff so you don't have to wait. That's wasted time you cannot get back. Being vindictive, being spiteful, it doesn't help anybody. And if you have children, thank God I did not. That's even wear and tear on the children. I can't wait to talk to some of these people who have kids who have gone through divorce and let me know how it affected them, because being adults, when you're going through this stuff, you're selfish. That's such a selfish act to do this and then constantly fight in front of your kids, and you're showing them the negative means of marriage, which in fact, I know some people who witnessed divorce as children and it's scarred them towards marrying. Period. You have one now, you're pregnant. Well, sweetheart, I'm going to need you to DM me and text me your name because we're going to pray together too. I'm a woman of faith and prayer. So I got you. Thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate you commenting. So those things, all of that goes into effect. The smallest minute thing that you probably don't even think about sometimes is involved when you're separating your family. It's a separation of family. It's a separation of people. Even I mentioned yesterday, one of the 5 stages of divorce is when you talk about emotional disconnect. This is somebody who you promise to love for the rest of your life. This is somebody who you promise to till death do you part. Had a conversation with one of my sisters who will be on here sometime this month, and she beat herself up so much that when she was talking about divorce, she didn't want to do it at first because of church, and that's a whole nother subject I hope somebody will come on and have a conversation with me about. But it wasn't until somebody said that, you know what, it's not even just, and everybody's perception is different. So if you church people get on here and try to come for me, don't come for me unless I send for you. I love you with the love of Jesus, but let's just be clear. Everybody's perception about something is totally different. The Bible says to death do us part. Could it be just physical death, which most people take it because they take it literally? Or do we look at and this is going to be a good conversation, or do we look at it the same and think the same thing, not just a physical death, but an emotional or a spiritual death? Does that give us legal right to separate? If something has hurt us so bad to our core that we're spiritually dead or we're dying in the relationship? There's so many like levels to this thing. That's why I'm so excited about having these conversations, because I pray that it's going to help somebody. It really takes a toll on the kids mentally and emotionally. Also with yourself, and because of your spiritual belief that you were taught, your upbringing, and for me, the example I had to fight all my, and I'm assuming you're going to say life. Thank you for feeling purpose. I really appreciate you commenting. So, then we take into consideration, I got my little notes here, I'm trying to go down as quickly as possible. She had to really pray and seek God because she didn't know how to win a fight. Girl, yeah, we going to talk. Praise God. I thank God that you're here. I really do. And hopefully something I say will assist you, even if it's just a little bit. You got to think about some things when we're talking and contemplating divorce. Do you think that you'll be happy without your partner? Me personally, I fall back and forth because most narcissists, they're not quote unquote real people because they're always faking and funking, but but my ex-husband was a great manipulator. He was charming and charismatic. He was life of party. Everybody loved being around him, would love to hang out with him. He made people laugh. He would give you the shirt off his back. He was just a bad husband to me. And we take that stuff into consideration because I didn't marry an abuser. I married somebody who charmed me. So for me, falling in love with that person, it was hard to separate the two because he wasn't abusing me every day, but one day of abuse is one day too many. And for me, it was hard at the end because as much as I knew I deserved better, wanted better, I had felt out of love with him, but I still loved him and didn't want any harm to come to him. But that's a whole nother spiritual connection as well. So I'm totally different. So when you talk about divorce, how much do you love your spouse? Are you willing to fight for it? Or do you love them enough to let them go because it's just not working and neither one of you are happy? That plays a huge part in it. What is your biggest fear about ending the marriage? Are you afraid that people are going to judge you? Which a lot of times we take on what other people think or feel about us, and we carry that weight and we're unable to process through what we need for ourselves. If you're afraid that somebody's going to judge you for not being with your mate anymore, no matter how long you've been married, whether it's a short period of time, long period of time, kids involved, whatever have you, are you taking on somebody else's guilt because they come at you like, oh, you can't get divorced because of them kids, or you can't get divorced because you can't afford to do nothing on your own, or you can't get divorced because of whatever have you. You can't take on what anybody else says. You have to make sure that you're doing this for yourself and you're happy. If there's no recourse, if there's nothing you could do and the marriage is not improving, the best thing you could do for all parties involved is to separate amicably. Besides pastors and church friends saying trust God, but when you're dealing with a narcissist and a manipulator, this kind of hitting some stuff, I don't want to get emotional. I'm going to say goodnight. Blessings, and I'll reach out because it embarrassed me after. I love you. Please reach out to me. I'm sorry if it's triggering you, but I'm glad that you tapped in, and please feel free to connect with me. I'm praying for you. Okay, Fulfilling Purpose 84. Thank you so much for joining me. I need to get these comments. Let me see what I could do. Let's see. I'm sorry, y'all. See if I can do this. Yep. There go 1, 2. Okay. All right. Oops, wait, hold on. Okay. So hopefully I got them all. So, because those are some comments I need read. Sometimes IG doesn't let you see comments, and unfortunately I'm not recording this for myself to keep it on my phone and get the comments. Anyway, so I'm almost finished, you guys. It's 7:20. Are you letting the prospect of divorce ruin your self-image? Are you allowing the negative connotation that comes with the title of divorce ruin your self-image? Are you allowing yourself to be judged by people? Are you allowing people to put something on you that you don't deserve? I was afraid that people would talk about me because, let's just be real, I seen red flags before I got married, and I decided to get married anyway. So one of the reasons why I say a lot of people, most people, if not all people, did not know I was dealing with abuse. They may have assumed it, but nobody ever came forth and said anything to me. Whether they felt they were going to be confrontational, whether they thought I was going to lie to them, doesn't make a difference. Nobody really approached me. And when it all was coming to a close or a head, as they say, I was really afraid of the "I told you so"s, or "you knew you should have did this in the first place," and I really didn't get that. But however, I felt that I might. When you put your relationship, if you, like, say for instance, now we're so big on social media. So if you put all these pictures on social media that you all are doing fabulous, but you're not allowing anybody to see the negative side or the dysfunctional side, of course, when you separate it, people are going to be shocked. People are going to ask you 5 million questions. Girl, we didn't know. How come you didn't do this? How come you didn't say that? And are you allowing those possible conversations ruin the fact being that you don't need to do this anymore? Regardless of what you put on Facebook, regardless of imposter syndrome, regardless of you masking, regardless of whatever have you, if it's not healthy and it's mentally wearing you out and tearing you down, you need to do something. Because whether they want to admit it or not, your significant other, your spouse, whether they want to admit it or not, 9 times out of 10 it's having the same negative effect on them, even though they may be acting out, even though they may tell you they don't need you, even though they may be an adulterer, maybe even if they may be an abuser, even if they just may be just not together. If it's affecting you, it's affecting them. And that transverse of energy thing is so real. One day I could be happy as a pig and slop, as they say. But I come home to a bad house and that person had a bad day. And if we don't communicate and they just start taking stuff out on me, once they feel better about releasing their wrath or their anger, now I'm in a funk because you've been yelling at me for no reason. It wasn't necessary. So, again, this 20 minutes went by fast. It's actually 23 minutes after. I don't want to hold you all long. I appreciate you all coming on, listening to me. Please like, share, comment, even after the video is over with. Of course, I'm going to save it, download it, and it'll be on IGTV. So, I appreciate you all so much. I hope you all have a blessed and wonderful evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow, God willing, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on IG with your girl, Y Renee. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.